Hello once again, Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au. Thanks for joining me. And this month, March 2016, is, I believe, very, very significant. And leading up to August, this next few months in particular, due to the impending Mars and Saturn conjunction. Now, I've been saying for a while that this conjunction is a rather intense one. It usually heralds wars, earthquakes, all those horrible things that the doomsday merchants are accused of bringing to the masses. And yes, I'm guilty of it tonight, I'm sorry. I have to mention it because I'm a little perplexed as to why so many people that I've been talking to about this Syrian crisis and the 350,000 troops, something like 5,000 tanks, 2,500 aircraft, preparing for military exercises, exercises as they call them, aren't even aware that it's happening. I mean, the main media has been conspicuously sort of devoid of any of this sort of talk. I mean, we know about ISIS and the Syrian crisis, the refugee issue, but this particular situation, which to me looks like World War III in the making, is barely mentioned. So this Mars and Saturn conjunction is usually astrologically very much a reflector of violence, wars, really horrible things. And I'm sorry to bring this news to you, but I think on a more personal level, it is a primary conjunction of growing frustration. And this month it's important to talk about that. Let's bring it back to those sort of areas in our lives that we can actually control or do something about. Because we know, for example, that our most intimate relationships are the starting point for world peace. Actually, let's get back a little closer to ourselves. Our own individual selves and the relationship we have with ourselves is the starting point for peace. And, if we analyse our lives, we see that for the most part, we're disturbed, we're frustrated, we're never content with what we have, where we are. And so this conjunction, and also on the 9th, the new moon that we see there in Pisces, has a lot to do with self-sacrifice, putting our own interests aside for the greater good. Now that can be our relationships, our families, our communities, and of course when we talk about wars, maybe governments putting aside their egos so that the millions of people that are being displaced, killed, might have a better chance at life. So that new moon, I believe, is very, very important, especially given the context of this approaching conjunction of Mars and Saturn in the coming months. Right now, as I speak, Mars is at 28 degrees of Scorpio in the Western tropical system of astrology. So it will move into Sagittarius. And before it actually makes that conjunction over the next couple of months, it's going to go into its retrograde motion. So this issue of war that I'm talking about, we may be on the brink of it. It will pull back. That's what retrograde planets do. They pull back and then they come back to do the job that they're meant to do. And that will happen around August. So as that time gets nearer, I'll be talking more about these particular aspects and how they impact upon us globally. The full moon takes place in the sign of Libra, which is the perfect astrological sign for relationships, love, balancing our emotions, and also our personal versus social needs. So that full moon on the 23rd is going to be an important one too. So, the 9th is the new moon in Pisces, that whole concept of self-sacrifice, unconditional love, and then the full moon bringing with it that connection to the relationships and how we can best do our best in those relationships. So I hope you take that away as food for thought as I move into the 12 signs readings this month. Again, I'm going to get more thematic rather than date by date. I think it's important that we see how we can utilize those traits of our zodiac signs in the best possible way, and get to understand during these particular transits what weaknesses are going to be triggered, what's going to undermine us in the coming month or so, and that's really what I'd like to focus on this month. Don't forget, as usual, astrology.com.au, we're going to give you a more detailed analysis, that chronological transit list that thousands of other astrologers are doing, if you want that. But if you want more of the meaty, sort of spiritual, self-transformational, self-empowerment stuff, then hang around for your star sign in the next few minutes. Thanks again. Talk to you shortly. Bye-bye.